Welcome one, welcome all to the Tortillas and Takes podcast. You are on once again with your boy, I'll be sure. And I know we were away for a little bit, but we back. We back now. I am in the same place I've always been for a while. But Jeremy, on the other hand, my partner in crime here at Tortillas and Takes, new house. Who this is America's favorite chef.
Second place, but that's all right. Who's counting?
You're our favorites in our hearts. Okay, favorites in our hearts. To be honest, I actually blame our pod because had we had a pod in the past week, it would have boosted the numbers. It would have got you where you needed to be. It's our fault. We should have had the pod going, right? To tell everybody to vote, and we didn't do that, and we messed up there. You had to move in, and you had to get the mic. It's all set up. You know what I mean? And so it's it's there. But you are number one in our hearts, the best chef that I know. Yes, Jeremy Gillen, America's favorite chef, here on the podcast as well.
Dude, sweet to be here. I'd say usually at this time of year, we're kind of talking about baseball, and that's about it. Sometimes, track, but in the kind of an echo. And this year it's the same, but it's different in a really exciting way. And so it's kind of a really unique time for Tortillas and Takes. This is like one of those moments where hey, let's see a different sport be better. And usually that's not the case. And this year, here we go.
Well, I feel like it's interesting because every year, especially for the past, maybe 3 years or so, we, when it comes to stickball, it's been very divided between the two of us, right? You're very much more into softball and very much more into baseball. And I think both of us don't really care about the other one. so usually, right? I think even last year, me and Joe took baseball, you and Kenzie took softball. I'm like, all right, y'all have fun over there. Now you're here, right? And so this year, it's for me, it's been nothing but pain and misery. While for the first time in program history, we're seeing praises, right? I mean, not like Tech softball's been. Some years were bad. Some years, but most years were just okay, right? It's not like Tech softball has like a varying levels of embarrassment like volleyball and recently women's basketball give us. They've just been okay. This year, however, it's skyrocketed. It actually reminds me a lot of the second season Tim Tadlock was for baseball, right? Where the baseball team, same thing, where just pretty average. Like the whole time I was at Tech baseball was pretty average. It was a 50-50 chance we were going to win or lose the game, right? Regardless of who we were playing. Pretty average team, right? Wasn't embarrassing, but wasn't anything to sniff home about. Tadlock's second season here, we go to the College World Series for the first time ever. And for Glasgow, it didn't even take him 2 years. It took him the very first year. Took softball to the Women's College World Series for the first time. Hell, took us to the Super Regional for the first time ever. And then one-upped it by beating Florida State back-to-back like it was nothing. Well, let me not say it's nothing. The second game was something. First game was nothing. Second game was a little more stressful. Probably the most stressed I've ever been watching a softball game. Because admittedly, most of the time, I'm like, oh, okay. That was the first time I'm like, man, there's stakes in this. Jeremy, tell us more about softball and your thoughts.
Well, I mean, to say that a season is historic and to say that, is this the best season? And that's a phrase that you're not going to be able to say very often at this point in collegiate athletics. We tease is this one of X best seasons in football history? And we have all these different metrics we like to weigh it against and what about the recruiting? What about this? What about that? With a sport like softball, if there were any metrics, they've been blown out of the water, and they were blown out of the water early by winning the regular season title. And then to up the ante, you blew it out again by winning the Big 12 tournament. And then to up the ante, you hosted the regional, and you blew it out of the water. You won that. And then to up the ante, you did super regionals, and you beat a very good Florida State team that was pretty much picked to wallop you. And so this is in fact, the most historic softball season in Texas Tech history. You are watching a season play out that is going to be what every other season is measured towards. It's the kind of season you look at and say, this team has a path to win the World Series. There's a path to win the World Series with this team. Because before, you win the Big 12 tournament, you win the Big 12 regular season, you think, this team is awesome. They kind of showed some here and there, will they have enough to get through the regionals? And then they cook in the regionals. And then they cook Florida State. And it's like, and cook, mind you, the measure of like the margin of success is very small. But the way they dominated Florida State in that first game, and the way that they played their exact same playbook, which we'll talk about in a second, in the second game, like I know you thought it was a little bit close, but I was like, dude, if Florida State doesn't change if they don't start hitting or they don't start playing a lot better, it's not going to happen. And they just couldn't get over the hill, couldn't get over the hump. And so Texas Tech softball is playing at a level right now, is playing better than like this. If you want to talk about proportion, Texas Tech softball is playing proportionally better than our men's basketball team did this year. Like that is where you can like look at the measure of success.
That's a good way to look at it. Yeah.
Is like, okay, yeah, the men's basketball team was Elite Eight and everybody in the world is watching the tournament, blah, blah, blah. But the level of success the softball is having is better than the men's team is having. So you look at men's team and you say, they should have like beat Florida, sure. Would they have won the next game? Who knows? This team's like, I can see a path for them winning the World Series. I'm not doubting that in my mind. And it all starts on the mound.
So I'll push back a little bit. I think that, so on one hand, you have bring up a really great point because the softball team won the Big 12. The men's basketball team did not, right? They won the Big 12 tournament. The men's basketball team did not. And mind you, I'm really going off of what I've read, right? Yeah. In that the Big 12 in softball isn't as strong as the men's basketball Big 12 is, right? So finishing second in the men's basketball Big 12 is equivalent to finishing first on the softball side. And then if we think about the Elite Eight, like the College World Series is the Elite Eight, right? That's the final 8 teams to make it. So and then also I'll take it another step further. The men's team was a 3 seed, right? Similar to the being a number 12 regional seed in softball, right? So like I would actually say that right now it's a tie between the two. It's actually a really good comparison. It's a very good comparison. I think it's a tie, right?
Well then, so then let's update it to say how they do in the World Series will leverage.
That breaks the tie.
Because the parity is like, okay, maybe the Big 12 is not so great, but softball is pretty much dominated by a certain number of teams. Yeah. And now Texas Tech is in that arena. And so it's like, are we about to get laid flat or are we going to compete? So I do like that.
Think about it. As I'm looking at right now, you have 8 teams, right? Of the 8 teams, 5 of them are from the SEC.
Yeah.
Right? 2 of them are from the Pac-12. Let me tell you something. I'm not going to allow the Big Ten to act like – I saw a thing earlier on Twitter today where it was like for the first time in over a decade, the Big Ten has 2 teams that made it to the Women's College World Series. And I'm like, no. You do not get to all of a sudden puff your chest out about UCLA and Oregon. Okay, Those are 2 Pac-12 teams that made it to the Women's College World Series. So you got 5 SEC teams, 2 Pac-12 teams, and then Tech, right? So we're here for all the little people is how I look at it, right? Like we're also the 3rd lowest ranked team in the Women's College World Series. Only ones lower is 16th ranked Oregon, and then Ole Miss that wasn't a national seed. And so we kind of come into this as the true underdog. But to your point, I think there was a lot of expectation coming into the season, but not only have we matched them, we've exceeded them. We've been underdogs in certain aspects already. Like we weren't, I don't think we were picked to win the Big 12. I think we were picked to compete for it, but I don't know if we were picked to win it. We weren't picked to beat Florida State. I know that much, right? And so on the road, especially not picked to beat them the way we beat them. So like I look at this and say, well, to your point, like the path is there, right? We see like also Oklahoma, who looked unstoppable years before, they got bruised, right? Like they're not the same. Like they still are probably going to be the favorites in this tournament, I'm sure. But like they don't look as unstoppable as before. The team that was supposed to be the best team in the country, the Aggies, embarrassingly got beat in the regionals, right? So like to your point, I'm like, and I ain't scared of no Florida. I ain't never been scared of no Texas. All right. I ain't never been scared of no Tennessee. So like who knows? Maybe it's there. Maybe we can do it.
Maybe. I will say so. Texas is a team that we have played, and we lost pretty handedly, like 11-0 loss.
I ain't never been scared of no Texas, Jeremy.
But a good counter argument to that is that Mississippi State is another team that you faced early on. You lost to Mississippi State 3-1, and it felt like a real gut check of like, man, here's a quality team that we can play. Let's see how we do against them. And it felt like we were just overwhelmed, that whole game. We couldn't get anything going. Well, then you get a chance to meet Mississippi State again. I saw them pop up in the regionals, and I was like, uh-oh, that's going to be an interesting game. Well, then you run rule them 10-1. It's only 6 innings. So, and then you won 9-6 the next night. It was a good illustration to me that Coach Glasgow and this team very much like the get back. It's like, there's a great opportunity. We've gotten better over the season. Let's prove it. And they did. Run rule, second seeded team in your regionals. And it's an excellent showing. So you're primed, and you just took down number 5 Florida State. You are primed to do anything you want. And opening up with Ole Miss is actually a huge blessing, because Ole Miss is the only other team that is in their first College World Series ever. Do they belong there? I don't know. SEC bias is always
you win the games. If you win the games, you belong.
Yeah, you win the games, you belong. But you know what? That's going to be a great one to open up play with on Thursday, because you'll have 2 historic seasons batting it out. And I think that, our $1 million arm is going to be the difference maker, as it has been in all but 5 of the games that we've played.
So let's talk about Nigeria candidate for a second. So I will say this. So it's been very public knowledge how much money she gets paid to come to Texas Tech, right? Like everybody knows she gets paid $1 million to come over here, and then some. And admittedly, one of the things I was worried about a year ago when we found out that she'd be coming to Tech is, okay, she got paid $1 million, but she probably go through the motions, right? She's coming from Stanford. Stanford's very different culture, very different type of school. And she come here and she kind of really go through the motions, really just say like, I got my mill, right? Like I can slack off and still be the best pitcher in Tech history, which probably so, and we could Texas Tech, no matter what, it was obvious Tech was going to have an improvement over last year. Right. Mm-hmm. So like, let's say, if Tech would have finished the season just making the NCAA tournament, not winning the Big 12, not winning the tournament, just making the NCAA tournament, it would have been happy for the most part. We'd have been like, okay, right? And so I was curious if she would just kind of go through the motions. She hasn't. She absolutely hasn't. She is not. I would argue that she is undervalued at the $1 million. Like she's a candidate for the Player of the Year. And it's not even just slipping in. From everything that I read about it, it's she'll finish top 2. I don't know if she'll necessarily win it, but she'll definitely finish top 2. And so, one of the 2 best players in all of college softball, when you didn't have to be, like I was going to say, like she could have, she really didn't have to be one of the best. And so with that, and raise the level of play, I heard her ESPN interview afterwards, and this is not her first time in the College World Series, but it's everybody else's first time in the College World Series, and to where she was just proud to bring this school something they've never been before. Like she was proud to bring her teammates here, and it looks like she's just having a great time, right? And so like that is, I do think that it's all about mentality and mindset, but she easily could have went through the motions, and I would not have blamed her for it, and we wouldn't have even known. We'd have been like, hey, pretty good. Man, NCAA tournament, yay. Good way to start off. And she just has killed it and exceeded all expectations. It's kind of incredible.
Yeah, she leads the nation ERA. She best pitcher in Tech history, like 30-5 on the season. Texas Tech, I think, as a whole.
I don't know if that's really saying much to say she's the best.
No, but I'm saying like you you have set the and to your point, she could have gone through the motions and still been best pitcher. At some point, you would expect and hope that somebody could pass that up. But where she's playing at now is that's going to be a huge gap that is going to take some serious talent to get to again.
You know what it kind of reminds. You know what it kind of reminds me of, and obviously I was not here, or I was not a Texas Tech, supporter back in 1993. But it reminds me of Cheryl Swoops and Cheryl Swoops coming to Tech from South Plains, right? Meanwhile, I was in preschool, I'm sure, learning how, trying to switch from a bottle to the apple juice. But Cheryl Swoops, right? Like at the time, Cheryl Swoops comes in, easily the best player in Tech history from the women's basketball side, leads them to a national championship, and is one of those things where I imagine you look at Cheryl Swoops and you're like, well, ain't nobody passing her up soon. And 30 plus years later, ain't nobody passed her up since. Like I look at Nigeria Canada, I'm like, it's almost like it's not even a slight to say that I don't think anyone will pass her up. Like, how could you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How could you?
Yeah, the return value. I saw that AJ put out an article about it. I didn't read it, but like the return value on Nigeria Canada, far surpass. If you're a part of the Sellers family, you're thinking $1 million. Man, we lucked out. Like that was the deal of the century. Because you're here, Sniff. It's historic in every step is historic from this point out. And she's having a good time, like you said. She's genuinely in any interview she ever does, in any way she talks about the team, genuinely excited to be here, excited to be a part of the program, and now she's getting like, I don't know if you got to see our boy Patrick doing his photo shoot and then running back to check his phone every time he gets a break to watch the game. It's just like now you've got like not only the support of Texas Tech fans and all that, but you've got one of like the biggest athletes in sports right now just like on you, like I got to see this girl pitch. Like that's such a brand for you.
The team got aura. That's what it is. They got aura. That's what the kids say. The team got aura. That's really what it is. So right. Jeremy, so the teams that are in it, right? We start off number 3, Florida will play number 6, Texas. Number 2, Oklahoma will play number 7, Tennessee. Like I said before, they're the favorites. Ole Miss will play number 12, Texas Tech, and number 16, Oregon will play number 9, UCLA. It'll be double elim. Right. Now on the men's side, we've been to the College World Series quite a few times, but we don't have many wins. Right. We've taken a lot of L's in the College World Series. Yeah. What do you expect Texas Tech to do in this College World Series? Give us your prediction.
Buddy, that's a good question. So I do think Texas Tech's going to take Ole Miss pretty when I say pretty handedly, I don't mean like we're run ruling them. But here's the thing you got to look at. Texas Tech this season is 30-1 whenever they're leading. When Texas Tech scores in the first inning, they're 30-1.
Pretty good.
They've only lost one game when they get that first. And if they score first in general, they're 43-5. So Texas Tech is just like, if we're getting up first, we're doing well. Ole Miss has struggled to get out this season. They've had really good games where they score a lot later on. But if Texas Tech gets ahead, like then it's just the Nigeria Canada show. And that is the formula it has been all season, is that get ahead and make your opponents feel like they cannot get back into it. It is this long, drawn out strikeout, or, maybe tip, and then you just can't get runs in. Like it feels like you cannot make any headway. And after 3, 4, 5 innings, it just wears you down. And Texas Tech over Ole Miss, easy for me, right? Then I think you take on it's Oregon, UCLA. I will say this before you continue this. I will say this. You talked about us looking out against Ole Miss. We looked out on our side of the bracket. Period. That's what I'm saying.
That's the 4 of the 8 teams
You're letting the SEC kind of duke it out to figure out who maybe will take on Texas Tech.
2, 3, 6, and 7 on one side of the bracket. Meanwhile, 9, 12, 16, and unranked is the other side of the bracket.
That's right, baby.
Thank you. So anyway,
thank you. So there's a lot of conference bias in that, and it's hard to see Texas Tech as a 12 with the level that we've been watching Texas Tech play this season. And I think a lot more national media is starting to tune in, right? As we kind of swept Florida State, we got through our regional and all that. But I do think that as the 12, we're a lot stronger than UCLA is right now. Now, how does that pan out against in 2 games? It's hard to say. So, but I do think that I agree that we have the favorable bracket side. I think this team has the chops to make it all the way to take on whichever SEC team comes through. Although I'm interested to see how those elimination games play out, because a lot of times in the World Series, you get teams that get swooped down into that losers bracket, and it lights a fire under them, and then they get back to that game 13 or whatever, and it's I'm coming at you with everything I got. And so, would you rather be the underdog or kind of the silver spoon in the mouth? It's hard to say. But I tell you what has been impressed me this much this season has been Coach Jerry Glasgow. That's a guy who's played this game a long time. And we talked about that when he came over. This is a guy who's he'll probably retire here because it's pretty much the end of his tenure. Not a bad thing, but is that 1 season? Is that 5 seasons? I don't know. Good thing for us is that he's been around the block. He's seen, he knows how to win, and he's proven that multiple points in this season. So I take Coach Glasgow, Nigeria candidate, and the host of good athletes we have around them to get us to the finals. I do with this bracket, and it's not a lot. If we were on the other side, it's a much different narrative. We're having a much different conversation. But if UCLA is going to be your toughest opponent, I like Texas Tech in that matchup, at least from what I've seen.
I think from what I've read, I kind of agree with you. Again, I'm not the hugest softball person, but I think what I read, what I'm seeing, I kind of agree with you that we would hopefully beat Ole Miss. I think the other match would be a tough one. I think even if we were to lose to, let's say you lose to UCLA once, right, and we get back to it, well, then it's it's a dogfight. And if you get a game 14 or whatever, Niger Canyon on the mound, you have the best player in the matchup.
It's right where you want to be.
It's right where you want to be. My fandom, however, says we get to the championship round, move over Oklahoma. I will say Texas Tech's already sold out their allotment for OKC, right?
Which is a great venue for Texas Tech people. It's 5 hours, 5-6 hours, whatever.
I will say it's a great venue for Texas Tech people. The only pushback I have is it's also a great venue for Oklahoma. It's also a great venue for Texas, right?
Yeah.
So that's the only other thing. But I do think it gives us an advantage. Definitely gives us an advantage over Oregon and UCLA, no doubt.
Yeah.
Ole Miss does travel well too, so it won't shock me if Ole Miss is packed out there in Oklahoma City.
Oh yeah.
In general, but against Florida, against Oregon, against UCLA, we're going to have the upper hand here. Another thing that's kind of not talked about as much is that Texas Tech just won the Big 12 tournament. You want to guess where the Big 12 tournament was played? Oklahoma City at this very OGE Energy Field.
That's right.
Right? Same place. This team's already played here. They've already won here. They haven't lost a game here.
There's no big lights.
There's no big lights. I do think there's advantage. This field is an advantage for 2 teams, Texas Tech and Oklahoma. And I just, unfortunately, I think we might end up playing Oklahoma in the championship. And because I don't have this wealth of softball knowledge, I can be ignorant. And I don't have to actually give you analytical pieces. I'm going to just tell you that the Red Raiders are going to win regardless.
That's right, baby.
That's right.
That's right.
No matter who we play. And if it is Texas, if Texas Tech beats Texas for a national championship, let me tell you something, buddy. I will be the biggest softball fan you've ever heard of. Okay, I will.
Those are the rules, man. Those are the rules.
Those are the rules. They'll be like, Texas, we have this, record against you in football.
Who gives a shit about that?
Get out of here. But who won in the national championship game in 2025?
Did you just lose on national TV? Everybody was watching that.
Yeah. Everybody was watching that. move over NBA finals. You
You
know,
know, all those SEC fans hanging around doing the horns down because they
Yeah.
could give a shit about conference pride because Texas sucks.
Exactly. So yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'll actually be in Disney whenever that's happening, but whenever the
Wow.
College World Series is going on. But yeah, I will be broke and probably homeless afterwards. But it'll be interesting to see what happens with Texas Tech in the Women's College World Series. I'll be watching the games because, of course, and I know Jerm will be there giving an analysis. So make sure to go to the TNT page to get that.
That's right.
On the other side of stickball, Ding Dong, the evil pitching coach, is dead. Well, not dead, but resigns.
Dead to us for years. It's been dead to us.
Yeah. Matt Gardner has finally resigned or forced to resign from the baseball team. He has been on staff for 12 years. He's worn out his welcome for a few years now. This is at least 2 years overdue, if you ask me. But he's finally resigned, and it is, listen, for the baseball team, we just had our worst, arguably our worst. I don't want to be hyperbolic and say it's our worst season ever, but it's definitely our worst season in like 40 years. Like statistically, our worst season in 40 years. It was a truly terrible season. One of the worst teams in the non-conference in the country. Conference season was just mediocre. It wasn't as god awful as the non-con season. Shockingly, we finished 9th out of 16. So yay, I guess. But the season was pretty awful, pretty terrible. And so what you're hoping is that with Matt Garner gone, you get a new pitching coach, and you can kind of correct the ship, right the wrongs. You know what Tim Tadlock can provide. You know he's good for it, and you hope it changes around. Because if it doesn't, well, then you start looking at some other things, right? And this is a fan base that loves being good at baseball. We've tasted it now. We know what it's like to be good at baseball. I mean, softball's killing it. And so we're not going to stay bad for long. We're not going to allow us to be bad for long, right? So I do expect major changes here, and I do think it'll only go up from here. Anything on that, Jeremy?
It's crazy to think that Gardner's been here for 12 seasons now. 12 seasons period. Coming on, so Tadlock has not had a losing record since like his first season or something like that, which is crazy. So I think Gardner kind of got a lot of benefit off of Tadlock being the coach that he is. But I will say, since 2018, I was reading 25 pitchers have been drafted. 8 have gone on to make it to the big leagues. So it's not terrible numbers, right? There is some merit for him hanging around when he did. Nobody was questioning him early on, right? Especially when things were going really well. We're making it to the World Series. The cracks just started to show later on whenever the level of talent maybe just looked a lot different. And I don't think that Gardner was able to adjust his coaching style and create success where it was a little bit larger of a gap to overcome. And not with this fan base, man. Like you said, it's been years. People and people a lot smarter than us for saying it first. You know what? Our pitching staff needs a little bit of a change. And we were like, oh, okay, I guess so. Yeah, sure. And then next year is like, our pitching staff really needs a change. And then, this year it's like, dude, we have got to, this is terrible. Yeah. Literally the worst percentage season since 1985. 1985, dude, that's crazy. So, you can't expect to get a lifetime contract like Tim Tadlock did because you ain't that Tim Tadlock level caliber. But we are starting to climb the ladder in terms of figuring out the root problem. So if things don't dramatically change next season, and it's hard to say that they couldn't because it was such an abysmal season comparatively. But like you said, man, if we're still having issues, who's the next up the ladder, right? They're going to keep climbing that thing until they're knocking on Tadlock's door like, hey, buddy. Hey, I know this is a bad time right now, but
yeah. Can we talk to you for a little bit?
Yeah. I brought your suitcase, brother.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's necessary. It's this program can't stay down for long. It can't, especially with like the conference is there for the taking. It's not like there is brutes at the top of the conference. It's there for the taking. So
Yeah.
we're not going to stay bad for long, and I don't think we I don't think we will. I think this will actually be in 1 to 2 years resurrected, and we'll be back to where we need to be soon enough. A program that is always at the top is the Texas Tech track and field team. Shout out to Wes Kitley. Wes Kitley, once again, the men and women's coach of the year. I saw I know I told you at the beginning before pod that I was going to have a question for you. And this is not the question because I think it's an obvious answer as far as whether Wes Kitley is the greatest coach in Texas Tech history. And I think I think he passed up. I think he passed up Marshall Sharp when he won his first national championship. Now that he's won a second national championship, and he's not only done a lap around her, but he's like extending the lead tremendously. I don't. Wes Kitley is the greatest coach in Texas Tech history, and it's truly not close. It's not Mike Leach. It's not. What are some other candidates people have said? I saw somebody say Grant McCaslin. I was like, all right, relax.
Give it some time, buddy. Yeah. It's okay to wait.
But no, Wes Kitley. It's to me, Wes Kitley's number one. Marshall Sharp's number two. Mike Leach's probably a distant, very distant.
Yeah,
I think yeah. But well, yeah, Wes Kitley's just killing it. And after winning Coach of the Year, or actually, before winning Coach of the Year, both the men and women won the Big 12. Men won it handily. Yeah. 30 points ahead of BYU, finished second. Women also beat BYU a little bit closer, but still a ways that was like, yeah, we know, like BYU, you can rack up all those long distance runs. We got this. We'll take it from here. And was able to win that one. And so winning the Big 12 in both men and women's before they go off to the Nationals.
Let's not forget that, what was it, March, I think? They had all the Big 12 awards late March. Wes Kitley, Coach of the Year, men and women's, no doubt. And I think about being what does it take to be a head coach of a track and field program? There are so many unique events within that umbrella. There are so many unique needs on a team, on a roster for a track and field squad. It is a lot more detailed and a lot more intricate than any other kind of coaching that we do.
And not to mention indoor and outdoor. So you have 4 teams basically.
That's right.
Men and women's indoor, men and women's outdoor, and we won all 4 Big 12 titles.
That's right. So 6 outdoor Big 12 titles for the men, 1 for the women this season. I mean, no doubt in my mind, Wes Kitley is the best, like the most. I mean, he's the most awarded. He's the best, and he's still going. He was the oldest. Like, dude,
and he now owns 16 overall Big 12 titles in his career.
I mean, the guy is one of the best. Like, just as far as track and field coaching goes, tremendous. A tremendous job from a tremendous human being.
Yeah.
And he just stays out of the news.
Yeah.
You never hear about Coach Kitley ever in any capacity until he's just like racking home he just does his job and goes home.
Yeah. R4L.
R4L, buddy.
Speaking of which, Darian Williams did finally choose his destination. He's going to NC State.
Interesting.
I actually wasn't as surprised about it as I think a lot of other people was.
Is there a connection there you knew about?
Well, we'll wait. So, I mean, you remember Rolway used to be at LSU, got in some trouble for recruiting. Anything that would have got you in trouble with recruiting some years ago no longer matters. Right. So he proved that he was still a good coach at McNeese State, got hired by NC State. And, well, if you want to win, he's got to find players to win. And so and NC State, that whole area desperately wants to be good at basketball.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, exactly. So you already, like, everybody knows Duke and UNC, but Wake Forest wants to be desperately good at basketball. NC State wants to desperately be good at basketball. South Carolina wants to be like, they all want to be great at basketball. And so NC State, I'm not going to say the program is one that's willing to shell out the NIL money, But they'll do it. They'll do it to be good at basketball, men's basketball, women's basketball, and football.
That's right.
And so it didn't shock me. I will say I do think Darren Williams lost some money during this whole NIL negotiation thing.
Yeah.
I think that I also think that he got told and realized, oh, maybe I'm not the guy. All right, like a good example of this is I actually thought there was a good chance he would go to the NBA because I don't think it'll ever get better than this. I thought he had a really great year last year.
Mm-hmm.
He was viewed as a mid-second round draft pick, but the thing about him and where I think he's different than JT Toppin is that how can he improve on his draft status right now? He really can't, right? He's not going to get faster. He's not really going to get quicker. Like not his style of play isn't one that's conducive to more athleticism. He's already a fairly athletic guy, but he's not, he's not jumping out the gym for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like his strengths are his IQ and making the right play and doing the right thing. And that's fantastic. But I'm not expecting to see more of that. Right. So and so when he went to the NBA combine, the lack of athleticism just shined through. They were like, oh wait, you're really only that tall? Oh wait, you're really only that fast? Oh wait, you really don't jump that high? Oh. And then, and so this was going to happen regardless, right? Like, and I'm not even trying to bring him down anything like that. It's just the truth. The fact of the matter is that was going to bring him down regardless. He's one of those guys that his measurables were never going to measure up well, but it's just how good are you as a basketball player? And I think he's really good. I would love to have him back here. I think NC State's going to love him, and I'm glad he didn't go to Kansas. That's really where we're at right now.
Yeah,
just he didn't go to Kansas. So is he RR4L?
I don't know. I'm having a hard time with that phrase, man. Like, it felt like something that we made as a retort to the terrible coaching changes and who's sticking around, who's fighting it out. I don't know. I wouldn't say he's RR4L unless he turns around and does stuff for the university or something like that.
I've told you this. I hate the phrase.
I know you do, man.
I hate the phrase because it is so wildly inconsistent. Nobody is consistent with it. All right. We just pick and choose. The guy who came up with the phrase left Tech the same offseason.
That's facts. And we're hanging on.
Kyler Edwards. Kyler Edwards came up with the phrase RR4L, and he left for Houston the same offseason.
That's right. But Buddy was tweeting about Tech during the tournament, so it's like, oh, jeez.
That was but we just pick and choose. And I'm sorry, I'm not. I think some people think the definition is just if your last season with a Tech, you're RR4L. I hate that's not valid.
No,
but it's not valid to me. You mean to tell me? So, for example, a good example of this is Matt Mooney. Matt Mooney spent 3 years at South Dakota. Spent his last year at Texas Tech. Went to the national championship game with Matt Mooney. I respect Matt Mooney a lot. I actually do think he's a Red Raider. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying this about Matt Mooney. But what makes him RR4L, but Terrence Shannon not? Terrence Shannon spent way more time at Tech. Terrence Shannon stayed here after the whole Chris Beard debacle, right? Yep. I mean, I would even argue Kevin McCullough, but I know the Kansas thing is what sours.
The Kansas thing is wild.
And I can't. Sorry, I can't rock with you on the Kansas thing. But Terrence Shannon, right? And so what makes it? What stops you from? I've seen Tech fans say somebody's not RR4L and they have a Tech degree. What do you mean he's not a Red Raider? He has a degree.
He's legitimately a Red Raider for life.
So I think people just pick and choose it, and so I just hate the phrase. People just pick and choose depending on if they like the guy, and that's just not how that works.
That's right. So yeah, just glad he didn't do an interconference transfers are the worst, man.
Yeah, exactly. So, my good friend Jeremy, I do have one other thing of note to talk about today. So my big question for you before we get off the pod here, I saw a tweet earlier today, and the tweet was about hand signs in the state of Texas. I didn't get a tweet, but I saw a tweet, and I quote tweeted it about hand signs in the state of Texas. And the question was, who has the best hand sign in college football? So the state of Texas, as we all know, loves their collegiate hand signs. Almost every school in the state has a hand sign, whether it is a good one or a stupid one. Outside of the state of Texas, it's not as common to have a hand sign, but some do. Right? LSU has they have an L, which is the boot, right? Not a great hand sign, but it is a hand sign. And so, but a lot of universities across the country have them, right? And so the question was, who has the best? So the picture that was on here, and included NC State's hand sign, it's the wolf pack, which is basically like the hook 'em horns, but with your fingers out.
Yeah, I remember it.
Yeah. Yeah. That game we went to, we saw it a lot, unfortunately. They had Miami, the U, with very popular hand sign.
Very well known.
80s and 2000s. Of course, Texas's hook 'em, right? Very popular hand sign as well, both up and down. You have, of course, the guns up. The A&M thumb up the butt, right? You have USC's fight on with the peace sign. The Gator chomp, TCU's midget fingers, or little people fingers. I don't know.
The arthritic fingers. Arthritic
fingers. The OHIO for Ohio State. The tomahawk chomp. The tomahawk chop for Florida State. The Oregon O, which apparently the Oregon O is new. I didn't realize it was new. Apparently it's only been around for like a decade or two.
I believe that.
I didn't know that. And then of course the Kansas State Wildcat. Hand. So other ones that weren't necessarily mentioned, of course, SMU has their pony thing. I talked about the LSU boot as well. But one out of the ones mentioned, are there ones that shouldn't even be in the conversation for best hand sign? And then two, who does have the best hand sign in college football? And why is it or is it not Tech?
It is not Tech. I'll tell you that much. And it's because of Oklahoma State. It's because of Oklahoma State. Because somebody did that and this is pistols up. I was like, what the hell are you talking about? It's guns up. And then I was like, okay, now I realize nobody knows. Like, whatever. So we can't say we have the best because then we'd have to say Oklahoma State has the best because we have the same crappy sign. So no. Not for me, at least. Who doesn't belong on there? LSU doesn't belong on there because, like, taking an L or something.
No, yeah.
That ain't for me. Come on, man. Oregon's okay. But Ohio, they like to do the O too, so that's kind of.
They do the full body.
They do the YMCA stuff.
Yeah, they do YMCA stuff.
Yeah, so for me, if you're going O's, you got to go with the uppercase there, and so Oregon's out. Ohio State's pretty good. I would regrettably say, so I will say Miami's very clean.
Miami's is good,
and they made sure to rock it when they were rocking, and it's still good even when they're bad. Like that's hard. I mean, the U, like you just put it together. As much as it pains me to say, man, Texas's sign, and there's a reason it's good both ways, because it was so iconic. And it is so iconic. Like, the reason it became horns down is because it was because it's such a good sign. That, you know what, the best we can do is invert it.
Yeah.
But we're just doing horns. We're still all doing it. Because it's a great sign. I think it looks iconic. Anytime any celebrity or like any athlete is like high caliber athletes doing it, you're just like, damn, they look fucking powerful. They look good. They look good. Yeah.
It is. So, I can't front. It is because I'll tell you why it's not the best though.
Okay.
Because the H-Town hand sign for when you're from Houston is so much better.
Okay.
It's so much like you turn it back around. You put your pinky and you pointer out a little wider. Like the H-Town hand sign has so much aura as a kid.
It does have the aura. We're so
good. It makes the UT hand sign swagless.
Okay.
So I actually kind of do agree with you that it is a good hand sign. Unfortunately, Houston has taken it and made it so much better. And so it makes the UT one look
put some color in it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it made it look lame. So now like when I see Matthew McConaughey doing it, I'm like, you loser.
You loser, right? You bum.
Yeah. See, like Matthew McConaughey next to Bum B, you're like, all right, All right, Bun got the swag. Matthew, what are you doing? You call yourself Matthew. See, first of all, yeah, a guy that calls himself Matthew puts up the UT hand sign. All right, give me
That's
Bun.
fair.
Give me Bun of the Pimp.
Also has his own, what do you say? What was it? Chicken salad recipe that was kind of big there for a little bit.
Does?
McConaughey's chicken salad recipe.
See, I don't.
Would you rather have McConaughey's?
Would you rather McConaughey's chicken salad recipe or Bum Bistro burgers? That's the so okay. That's my point. All right, that's my point.
There you go.
There you go. So that's the only reason why I got to. I will say this: of the ones that was on this list, 3 of them I said y'all don't deserve to even be in the conversation. A&M, and you know what's funny? Actually, I did a little research before the pod here. Apparently, that's the first collegiate hand sign was the Gig 'em. I knew the background of the Gig 'em. So basically, they were playing TCU. They were like, "Hey, we're gonna put, if you know anything about gigging, it's a fishing."
Give us a small
thing. And
context on that, Albie.
Well,
give us the ChatGPT on gigging.
You do it's a gig. It's a tool that you poke it up a frog or poke it up a lizard or whatever animal it is, and it does what it does. So the guy during the yell thing was like, "We're gonna gig them horn frogs, right? So we're gonna put them up a butt till they explode." So apparently that was the first time, and so people were doing that, right? Gigging the TCU people, and that's what started. Now apparently that was the first hand sign. Apparently that was the first one.
We really nailed it with that one. I don't know what kept on.
Yeah, but I will say this. So here's the problem with it is that even though now that story is ridiculous and terrible, but at the end of the day, it's just a thumbs up, and that's stupid.
That's right.
It's just stupid, right? I think they actually have the worst hand sign.
Nobody thinks of A&M when they're just like giving somebody a thumbs up. Hey, good job, man.
Yeah, not a single person. Because even with the guns up, though you could argue like, oh man, all it is it's a finger gun. Yes, but the way we do our guns up, it's pretty recognizable, I would say.
Yeah.
All right, if I come up like this to somebody, they're not like, oh my God, you're gonna shoot me. They're like, oh, wreck them. Right?
Oh.
So anyway, so the Gig 'em I think is ridiculous. I think TCU's hand sign is also ridiculous because it's
hard.
It's hard, it's swagless as hell, right? And it's too similar to other hand signs. Like the SMU one, you mean some of the difference between the SMU one and the TCU one is just how much you want your hand to hurt?
You know what's even worse about that is how close they are.
Yeah, exactly. So y'all are rivals, but
you didn't even try.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, terrible hand sign. And then last but not least is similar to USC and SMU, or to TCU and SMU, is USC's fight on.
Yeah.
The peace sign. I don't get it. It doesn't
stole that from the Army.
I see some people also kind of bend their fingers when they do the fight on too. But yeah, I think that's also trash. So honorable mentions for some good ones. I think Oregon's is pretty nice. It's a pretty good one. The Circle O. The Kansas State one is nice. The Wildcat, the WC. I like that quite a bit. I am, however, partial to 2. I absolutely agree, and they're both in the same state. I absolutely agree with you. The Miami U is incredible. It's an incredible hand sign. And I'm very jealous that Miami in general were the first ones to be called the U. Because anybody could have been called the U.
That's correct.
Anybody could have stole it, right? Especially if you are university, right? Like maybe Tech wouldn't have stolen it because we're university at the end of ours. Like you're University of Texas, University of Tennessee, University of Southern California, University of South Carolina.
You could have been the U.
Any of y'all could have been the U.
Maximum.
And Miami stole it from you. I respect the hell out of that. So that's first. And then the other one is the Gator Chomp. Love it. I'm also partial to it because I grew up in Dickinson, Texas. The Dickinson Gators also do the Gator Chomp. But it is the Gator. And then when Tim Tebow was out here doing it in the end zone, oh my goodness, it's maximum aura. All right, max aura is just. If you haven't noticed, that's kind of my new word. I'm using aura a lot. Okay,
been hanging out with his daughter too much.
I've been using it to embarrass her more than anything, and now it's just part of my vocabulary. I like
that's how it works, man. That's how it works.
It's good word. But yeah, no, the Gator Chomp I think is a really good one. I do think there's an argument that it's not a real hand sign.
Well, because I was thinking the same thing with the tomahawk chop. Like I like the chop, but I don't know. I can't see somebody going up in an airport. I'm thinking that too. What's up, man? I
feel like you don't think people do that. I think people do that.
I don't know. I've never run into a Florida State fan. If I have, they have not admitted it. They're not
Well,
going.
like,
Yeah, I'm Florida State all the way. I'm
Yeah.
Florida State, buddy.
Yeah. Well, so okay, but here's the thing about the Gator Chop, the Tomahawk Chop, the OHI, all those is that is it doing too much? Having to use two hands or a motion or anything like that. Like for NC State, for Tech, for TCU, for Baylor, that's another one. Right? Well, maybe no, actually, I'm going to take Baylor out because technically Baylor isn't just a paw. You got to go the sick 'em. It's a whole thing. So I'm actually Baylor, you're out. But for TCU, for SMU, for Texas Tech, it is even for the giggers. It is. It is. It is a simple hand sign. It is a simple hand sign. It's one hand, boom.
It's easy access. It's easy access. You don't care how much room you have, nothing like that.
Exactly.
And you can do the drive-by. Like, as soon as you go by, hey.
Yeah, drive by to the giggers. But I say all that to say I do think Tech actually has one of the best, if not the best, because it is a simple hand sign.
It's clean.
It is clean. It is easy, right? And it isn't just a finger gun. It is the way we do it. And we did it before Oklahoma State, so therefore the pistols firing nonsense is just stupid, right? And actually, I would argue the Texas so nice, somebody else try to steal it, try to adopt it. Nobody else can say that.
That's right.
Right? Even though I will say Longhorns do say that NC State stole theirs, but I actually can argue that this looks more like a Wolfpack than this does a Longhorn.
That's right.
So, anyways, anything else you want to say to the people?
I think you've said it all, man. I think we learned a lot on this episode, and I'm excited to say this is over.
Before we get canceled by the fishing community, the
fishing. Who's listening to this?
I really hope we didn't do any ads this episode, thank God. I really hope no sponsors are listening. But
let's check in on that tortillas and takes. Let's just pick a random.
Yeah, I mean, this is Elon's America. You can say whatever you want.
Okay? That's right.
This is in Elon's America. You can say
if they don't like it, we'll start a GoFundMe and
exactly. We can yell at little kids in the park now. Say whatever you want.
It's just whatever.
Yeah, listen. America's a free for all right now.
We're finally a free country.
We're finally a free country. Yeah, absolutely. I was gonna make another joke, but I really should not.
Stop it. Finish. Get us out of here.
I really should not. Never mind.
Subscribe to Patreon to hear the extra joke.
Yeah. Exactly. So, Women's College World Series is this upcoming week. Hopefully, we'll come back with the national championship. We could use another one. We could definitely use another one. Nigeria Kennedy is actually going down as, I think, one of the greatest athletes. She's going down as one of the greatest single-season athletes in Texas Tech history. I mentioned Cheryl Swoops before for a reason, because this season reminds me of that run. I think this is absolutely incredible. It's wildly impressive, and they deserve all the flowers. So, for the flower man himself, that is Jeremy Gillen, this is your boy, Albie Shore, and you have listened to the Tortillas and Takes podcast, part of the 1012 Network. As always, stay wrecked, people.